Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Let's get right into this show. All right, so Lane Kiffin had to dismiss a 5-star. This happened a few days ago. I meant to cover this, but I've just been tied up. Also, Jimbo puts TCU in its place. And I was wondering when somebody was going to do that. Well, it looks like it was Jimbo's turn. And, of course, he's over there in Texas, so I can understand why. But let's get into Lane Kiffin. This has to do with Chris Marshall, who was a 5-star. He was originally at Texas A&M with old Jimbo. Happens to be in the other story. But he got dismissed for all kinds of issues there. I think he was breaking team rules of some sort. Then it says here that he transferred to Ole Miss. Head coach Lane Kiffin was probably thrilled. Said he was on Christmas Day of last year leaving the Aggies after one season due to multiple incidents paired with a lack of playing time. After only 4 months with Ole Miss, Marshall has reportedly been dismissed from the program, according to multiple sources that have confirmed it. Many scouts anointed him as a future first-round pick in the NFL draft. Kiffin said Chris Marshall has been dismissed. Team rules. We wish him good luck in his future plans, etc. Says clearly a sad development. We wish nothing but the best for Chris. Hopefully learns from these past discretions. So, look, if Lane Kiffin had to dismiss him, and you know Lane did not want to do that. If there's a laid-back dude when it comes to head coach and letting guys get away with stuff, it would be Lane Kiffin. So I don't know exactly what's going on with this young man, but it's really kind of sad to see somebody with that much talent and skill that these guys think could be a first-round draft pick, and he just keeps messing up. But there's only so much you can do. You know, at some point he's going to have a sit-down with himself and say, do you want to do this or not? Because if you can't work for Lane Kiffin, I don't know where you go. I really don't. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's one of the things that we talked about a transfer portal with Tennessee was I was like, man, maybe we ought to take a look at some of these Texas A&M guys. But now that you see all the trouble and issues from all those guys that got suspended, I'm kind of glad that I'm very glad that Heupel didn't do that. I think he got a dose of that with the South Carolina game last year, that you don't want folks on the team that aren't team-oriented or that maybe are more concerned about themselves and don't want to follow the rules. So, you know what? I don't care how good you are. If you're going to break the rules and you're going to mess up team chemistry, you're better off without them. And I think that's what Heupel has decided. And it seems to me that every transfer portal guy he got seemed like a pretty good dude and that had a good team cohesion. So I think that's really the philosophy is, hey, get some guys that can help you but aren't going to hurt you, especially when it comes to chemistry. Now let's talk about old Jimbo Fisher. He took a shot at TCU, and here's what he said. And realize when the head coach of a major university makes a comment about another team, it's going to make news, especially if it's spicy.
Well, my broker's E.F. Hutton, and Hutton says, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Or if it's negative towards the other team, and especially in the same state, because you know Texas A&M, TCU, Texas, all those teams over there, Baylor, they're like this. I mean, they're fighting for recruits. They're always going at each other. It's like a little civil war over there half the time. Not unlike Auburn and Alabama or Clemson and South Carolina. You know, when you're in the same state, it can get rough. So let's see what he says. TCU coming off their first fantastic year under Sonny Dykes, got absolutely waylaid by Georgia 65-7. It was pitiful. Said Fisher had some interesting comments about TCU's playoff year while speaking at an Aggies event in Fort Worth on Wednesday. He said TCU stayed healthy. They had a lot of experience, and they got to where they had to get to. And then when they got to the SEC, it changed, didn't it? Oh, yeah, that's spicy as can be. In other words, you did what you had to. You played in your little crappy conference that nobody cares about. You managed to squeak on by there the whole year. And then when you went up against an SEC team, you got absolutely drug up and down the field like a rented mule, pretty much is what he's telling them. You had no business in that game. Honestly, they had no chance. They shouldn't have been in that game in the first place. They shouldn't have been in the playoff. Sorry. Look, I know some people at TCU get mad. Look, y'all didn't deserve to be in there because you scraped by the whole year in the little crappy conference you were in. You would have been probably above 500 in the SEC. You'd have probably been, 8-4, something like that, 7-5. You would never have gotten past Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, LSU. You'd have lost all 4 of those games. So that's the beauty of being in a weak conference. You can just kind of limp your way into a playoff from time to time. Now, with these 12-team playoffs, when you do get in there, you're going to have to really go up against the big dogs. And that's the one great thing about the 12-team playoff is that you're really going to have to earn it. You're not going to be able to limp into some little 4-team playoff. It says Fisher challenged the validity of TCU's season, implying they would not have had the same success in the big bad SEC, because they wouldn't have.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Saying the SEC is a higher level of competition is a fair statement. Really? Is it fair? But dissing a TCU team for getting washed by a Georgia team who's 16-0 versus SEC opponents over the last 2 years is unfair. Texas A&M and Fisher should be more worried about competing against the Sun Belt rather than, oh crap, smack talk.
But to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I'm saying, woo, right here.
Let's see who wrote this. Oh, it was a Texas Longhorns guy. Let me see who wrote it. Who wrote this? CJ Mummy, and I think this is a Texas website. So, of course, they're not going to like Texas A&M worth of crap. That was some pretty good smack talk by the writer. It was pretty well written, too. I have to give him a little bit of credit for that. But, look, TCU, I've already said enough about them. Anyway, I just thought it'd be interesting to take a look at that. You know, for the 5-star, I don't know what he's going to do. He's just going to have a sit down with himself, and maybe his family can help him get squared away. We'll see. But I think Jimbo, you know, he couldn't help it. He just couldn't help but throw a little smack talk at TCU. And I understand why. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me know to continue to cover the Vols, all our opponents in the SEC, and all that good stuff. I like to follow the SEC, obviously. And if you've not subscribed, it's right here on your right, my left. Just boop, that's all you got to do. Hit that little button. Costs you nothing. Helps me out. I'd appreciate it. And right over here is my most recent video, and YouTube thinks you'll love that. So check out that video right there. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.